The artist I chose to research and critique their artwork was Ansel Adams, who is a famous American photographer. Ansel Adams was born on February 29th in 1902 in San Francisco, California. He grew up here in a very affluent family as an only child. His mother and father were in. His father was in the timber business, and his mother was not very supportive of him, but they were able to get along. When he was 4 years old, in 1906, he suffered a slight nose injury, as you can kind of see in this picture, from a great earthquake and fire, and this will later affect his how he got into his career. But he grew up very conservative. He was very shy, and he was a slight genius, as he was very artistic and creative. And actually, before photography, he got into piano and taught himself music. He was homeschooled due to his shyness and kind of just awkwardness and not being able to fit in, especially with his appearance. So he was seen as an outcast. He was also diagnosed with ADHD. And basically all of these different factors combined and the solitary lifestyle, as they pulled him out of school and homeschooled him, led to his interest in nature. As he began to explore and go out and go on walks in the California area, in about 1919, he joined the Sierra Club, which was an environmentalist club. And he kind of just was able to go to Yosemite and Sierra and Nevada, and he hiked and explored. And this is actually where he published his first photo, which is on the next few slides. He spent most of his time in the Yosemite Valley, and he just was captured from the first moment he saw it. And in 1928, he married Virginia Best, which she was also a part of the Sierra Club and another environmentalist, and they had 2 children eventually. And about a year before that, in 1927, is really when Ansel's career really launched, and he was able to publish his first portfolio, the Parmelian Prints of High Sierra. And he was influenced by Albert M. Bender, who was a patron of the arts, and from the first moment he met Ansel, he wanted to publish his work. So he really got launched from him. Like I said, from that first photo in 1927, from 1929 to 1942, his work developed, and he came up with this technique called visualization, where he was able to visualize a piece and all the aspects before putting it all together. And he used a lot of filters, mainly black and white, as you can see. And a lot of darkroom techniques, which was at the time very popular. And he just really wanted to capture the simplicity and beauty of nature. And as he was an environmentalist and just loved the creation around him. The next few slides are all of his artworks, and they look very similar, but each of them has their own unique story. This is the first photo that made him famous, the monolith, the face of the half dome. He actually took this at the age of 14, but wasn't published until 1927, obviously, and it basically launched his career as this whole series, which was included in the portfolio. And he really just wanted to express the emotional and aesthetic feelings of the being massive and just the rock formation and everything. And he actually had a very far trek to get to this picture and waited a long time. And he wanted to use a dark filter for contrast between the sky and the snow and the rocks. This next picture is the Bride of Vale Fall, and this actually has a more personal tie to it. It was taken in Nevada at Yosemite, which again, he spent most of his time during his career as he just loved the area. This is actually where his wife Virginia's parents were married at the bottom, hence the name Bride Vale Falls. And he wanted to capture the love and beauty that has sentiment there, and just you can see the mist and just the serenity in the picture. And again, the whole visualization technique he used, he wanted to make sure he included every aspect of what he envisioned in his photos. This next photo is very different compared to his massive nature scenes, and this is more of a macro photo taken in natural light. And the story behind this one is actually kind of on accident. His mother picked this rose and set it on a log of driftwood, and he took the photo about 6 times, and it's just very casual, and he wanted to do something different, as a lot of times he wanted to capture things that we take for granted, and something so little and beautiful he wanted to capture and make known to people, as a rose is something that we kind of pass by every day and don't really think much about it. But then there was no really location except his backyard that he took this photo in. This next photo, Moonrise Hernandez, was taken in New Mexico, and this one was actually very difficult to take. It's a combination of multiple negatives together, as when he was taking the photo, he was actually very disappointed because the lighting wasn't right, and the setup and the filter he had was not ideal. But he found a way, being so creative, to combine all the different negatives to this one photo. And it turned out beautiful, and you can just see a very widespread angle of capturing the mountains, the sky, the moon, and also the scenery on the bottom as well. And it's just a great landscape picture. This 5th photo, The Clearing of the Winter Storm, was taken again in Yosemite Valley, and it was taken at the spot called New Inspiration Point, which is kind of at the beginning of the park. And he really wanted to emphasize the importance of the clouds, as you can see here, going through the mountains, and the lighting was really important for him to capture, and just also the lightness of the clouds. And it's just a beautiful first snapshot of when you go into the park. This is also like the same area, but it's after a thunderstorm, so it has a little more of a dark tone to it. This is again the first glimpse of the park, and so we wanted to capture that first moment of beauty when people enter into the national park. It's similar to the last photo, but there's definitely power in seeing the storm clouds and the whole thing develop. This 7th photo is very different from the mountains, and aside from being so entwined in the nature and mountains and trees, he also loved the coast, and this was taken in California. And he made a big push for protecting the coastlines and the ocean, and actually wanted a national park called the Big Point Sur. This photo just shows a new side of Ansel's work and just the beauty behind water. And he just loved it so much and wanted to protect it, as especially with today, knowing how the ocean is and all the terrible things that are happening and the death of many living creatures. It was really important to him to capture the beauty of the ocean, to push that importance to protect what we have. This is another ocean picture taken towards the end of his career at Storm Surf Timber Cove. This is Jenner, California, and he wanted to capture the power of the ocean. You see the waves crashing upon all the rocks, and the use of light and dark as well, with all the filters and his camera and setting up and everything. And it's just really beautiful, the message he wanted to portray with all of his nature images. And this is the last photo, but it's just so incredible to see what God's given us and how Ansel is able to capture what we have and use it in such a creative way. The legacy that Ansel left, he was one of the most influential photographers. Not only was he impacted the art community, but also national parks and environmentalists look up to him as he pushed so hard for the preservation of God's creation. He was such an inspiration to those around him, and those communities are forever changed. He died on April 22nd in 1984, and while he has passed, his artwork still lives on forever and is viewed as some of the most influential pieces of photography ever. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.